What's going on, you guys? This is All1, and I'm going to raise another Ghost of Tsushima video. So this video I'm going to give you is going to be a build video for the Samurai. So this is the build I ended up using for my Nightmare solo run, and if those of you that haven't seen it, you can actually go ahead and watch it. I will post a link down in the pin as a pinned comment on it, and yeah, so you can just see how this build plays solo-wise in Nightmare difficulty. You can also use this build for Nightmare Survival as well. Works pretty well, but obviously you can't solo Nightmare Survival. It would pretty much be impossible. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, this build is a really fun build. The Samurai itself is a really fun character to use. It's more of a Berserk type character for those of you that don't really know like how the Samurai plays or if you even wanted to play him. But yeah, the Samurai is more of a Berserk type character because of the fact that he can heal himself and still do massive amounts of damage. So let's go ahead and go right into it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start off with the Katanas. So you have 4 different legendary types and 4 different epic types. You have the Masume's Edge, Demon Cutter, Master's Katana, and Stone Striker. And then for the epics you have Moon, Wind, Water, and Stone. Now, obviously, it doesn't really matter which one you end up choosing. It just comes down to preference, what stance you prefer using. If you like using all 4 stances and you feel like you really need to, then Master's Katana is going to be the one you're definitely going to want to go with. If you feel like you should just get more damage, you want to have a little more damage or be able to put up more damage, Masamune's Edge is probably the one that you should end up going with then, because it's a 20% chance to deal double damage. That's the one I end up using all the time for my Samurai. Now, for other classes, I end up using other ones that are not legendaries because I use legendaries elsewhere. But Stone, Water, Wind, and Moon are actually really nice. Now, I know a lot of people end up using Water Katana because of the Water Master perk. With Water Master, it says inflict increasing damage with each attack in your surging strikes. So pretty much every time you hit triangle, or after you hold triangle and you keep spamming triangle for surging strikes, you're going to be doing more and more and more damage, which does a lot of damage against the Oni as well. So if you want to use the Water Katana because you want to do more damage like that, then I would recommend using Water Katana. Otherwise, I mean, for me, I just prefer using Masume's Edge. Now, for your perks, you're gonna have for the possible outcome on the first one. For me personally, I would go with melee damage or counter damage, or I guess perfect parry window works too if you are not super comfortable or super good in getting those perfect parries in general. But for me, I think the melee damage is going to be the best option out of the 4 here. And then for the second one, I would actually, personally, I would just go with ability cooldown reduction rather than the melee resolve gain. The melee resolve gain is nice, but the 12% ability cooldown reduction on top of the 15 that you can get on your perk, on your technique, is going to actually be really nice to get your siphon ability back a lot more often. So that's why I personally would go with ability cooldown reduction. I don't have the resources to re-roll, so that's why I haven't been able to, I didn't put ability cooldown reduction on it yet. And then for the third perk, it's again preference. I mean, you can use Burning Blade, Poison Blade. Burning Blade allows you to do more damage. Poison Blade allows you to stagger the enemy. Way of the Flame just allows you to hit your fire anytime you want, but I think it's like an 8-second duration on it with a 30-second cooldown. And then Intimidating Counters, which is one of the ones I actually enjoy using. Whenever you do a perfect parry counter, it has a 50% chance to deal damage to nearby enemies or nearby foes, which basically does the same amount of damage you would normally do to the enemy you would hit. I think it takes into the account that it's the damage that you can do melee wise. Then you can also choose the different stances: Stone, Water, and Moon. And then you have Wind Master. Typhoon Kick deals increased stagger damage and causes knockdown. So it's not bad. But yeah, that's all the katanas that we will go for. Now we're going to go with the range. Now for range, I went with the longbow. So the only reason why I went with longbow is because longbow is the strongest ranged weapon in the game. I tend to not really use ranged weapons in general because, I mean, before I had the longbow, I was using the halfbow, and the halfbow is just not strong enough, obviously. But it's nice to get the ranged resolve gain from it, as well as the headshot refund, so you can basically never run out of ammo. But I wasn't too worried about running out of ammo because, again, I rarely used my bow unless I'm going against an enemy that's too far, that's ranged, or is too high up that I can't get to. But what I would want to end up going with is actually going to be the skipping stone bow. If I end up getting the skipping, I mean I have two, but if I end up getting the rolls I want on the skipping stone bow, I have to make sure it has versatile as well, so I can actually use it on any class. But if I get it, then I'll end up using a epic sword. I'd probably use my stone katana because it has the right rolls on it. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, other than that, there's really nothing else to go for. For the longbow, I mean, I just went with range damage, headshot damage, which is really nice perks. And then again, you need to make sure you have versatile so that way you can actually use it on your samurai. If you don't have it, then only the hunter can use the longbow. Next up is going to be your charms. So for the charms, I'm using the samurai charm. The samurai charm is going to be really nice because it gives you a perk that you cannot get anywhere else. Obviously, like with any class item or any class charm, you can get the spirit pool targets, which allows you to get an additional spirit pool on an enemy. So rather than having one spirit pool on one enemy, you can have up to two, allowing you to get way more healing, making you a lot more tanky. And I think the spirit pool lasts for like 10 seconds or something. I'm not 100% sure on how long it lasts, but you are going to be super tanky for the time being while you have that extra spirit pool active. For the first perk though, I just went with melee resolve gain because melee resolve gain is just, out of all these, I think is the better thing to go with. I mean, you can go with melee damage if you want to have more melee damage, but the melee resolve gain is nice to have so that way you can build up your ultimate a little bit faster. And then for the third perk, I actually do like combat regeneration. I don't know what the last two perks are for the Samurai Charm, unfortunately, because I didn't re-roll it enough to actually check to see what those are. But for me, combat regeneration is actually really nice to have because it allows me to get more than just 25% of my health back. When I'm out of combat, I can actually go up to 50. And it feels like every time I get a kill, I get a little bit of health back as well. And yeah, so I'm able to actually get my health back really high, about like 75% of it up. I think that's where it's maxed at, is around 75 out of 100 of your health with the combat regeneration. So having this does help a lot with survivability. Otherwise, I mean, I guess you could technically go with the health increase or resolve increase. Next up is going to be your ghost weapon, your first ghost weapon. So what I'm using is going to be the dirt throw. I actually like this over the sticky bomb just because of the fact that it is half the time it take half the cooldown for sticky bomb. Sticky bomb is nice because it does an AoE damage, but I like having dirt throw, especially because it has rancid on it that I have with the cooldown reduction and cooldown reduction on kill. So with this, I mean, Rancid allows you to weaken your enemies, allowing you to do 25% more damage, and they deal 25% less damage. Now, if you don't want to use Dirt Throw and you actually like using Sticky Bomb, there's, I guess, two different versions that you could technically go with. The first one that I actually like using the most is the having cooldown reduction, blast radius with fired up, allowing you to burn your enemies. And then the other option would be cooldown reduction on kill with increased radius, a 50% increased radius. So these two would be the only two options I would technically go with. Caltrops are alright, it's not terrible. You drop it and you can pretty much stun lock Onis with it if you just drop it on them. But if you can kind of easily defend points as well with it, but I still think the Dirt Throw and Sticky Bomb are going to be the better options in general. So up next is going to be your Ghost Weapon, or your second Ghost Weapon. And my bad, the Caltrops are actually on the second Ghost Weapon slot, not the first. But the two options I would go with is Healing Gourd and Smoke Bombs. Smoke Bombs is nice because you can use it for yourself and your team, and the smoke stays there for quite some time. So you can get a crit or assassinate, then dip right back in the smoke, and then get another crit or assassinate, whichever one. But yeah, Smoke Bomb is really nice to have. And then the perks you definitely want to go with is Stealth Attack Damage and Cooldown Reduction with Lucky. Lucky is really nice because it is a 15% chance to instantly reset the cooldown on use, but really it feels pretty high. It tends to happen pretty often for me. And when it does happen, it's really nice because that's 2 minutes that I don't have to wait to use it again. Now with the Healing Gourd, it's a 90-second cooldown, but it's nice because one, it allows you to heal yourself 25 of your health, so it's a quarter of your health. And then the other thing is it's well, for the perks, you can only it's a defensive perk, so you can't get these perks on any of the other ones, any of the other like smoke bombs or caltrops. Um, so that's why I like the healing gourd, because you can get the injured resolve gain, which means anytime you take damage from anything, you get healing back. And sorry if you guys hear a dog outside, because my neighbor's dog is just likes to bark a lot. But the other option, or the other thing, would be to get Ghost Offering Health. The reason why Ghost Offering Health is really nice is because anytime you pick up any Ghost Offering, like, which is, I think it counts towards drums as well, but I know for a fact it's the arrows that you see on the ground. Anytime you pick those up, you get a lot of your health back. So that's why I personally like using Ghost Offering Health. And then for the actual main perk, or the third perk, is going to be Sudden Resolve. The reason why I use Sudden Resolve is so that way I can automatically fill one resolve bar without really having to put anything into it. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for all these gear pieces. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the technique. So for the samurai, obviously you're going to have Hachiman's Fury, which I would only really use when a couple enemies are low. Um, you can use it on the Oni as well, because it'll do a lot of damage, especially if you have ultimate damage in your build somewhere. If you have Oni damage, ultimate damage on your weapon and your charm, that's a 40% increase in your damage, ultimate damage, which is going to allow you to do a lot of damage with Hachiman's Fury, especially to the Onis. But for the class ability, I'm using Spirit Pool. I know some people like using Explosive Blade, but just because it does a little bit more damage and it's a small AoE as well, but I still think Spirit Pool is going to be the best thing to use regardless, because it increases your survivability. But not only that, Spirit Pool also does damage to enemies as well, while because it's taking their life. So for me, I personally would go with Spirit Pool. And then it is a 36-second cooldown, so with the cooldown reductions on your weapon, I believe, and your charm, I think it's the weapon and charm, yeah, the ability cooldown reduction, you'll basically be able to get your cooldown on Spirit Pool for, like, I don't know, maybe down to like 18 seconds, a little under 20 seconds, which is going to be really nice. That'll allow you to use your Spirit Pool way more often. Now for the perk one, you have Defender, Deep Strikes, and Samurai Unleashed. I went with Samurai Unleashed so that way I can have my Spirit Pool back faster. 15% is really nice to have. A 25 increase in health is nice to have, and that 10% melee damage increase isn't too bad. I mean, it's not really that noticeable, but it's not terrible. But the only two perks I'd personally go with is Defender or Samurai Unleashed. Samurai Unleashed is the #1 perk that I would go with, though. Perk number 2, you have Lightning Reflexes, Critical Defense, and Resolve Increase. So the two that I would say is the best option here is Lightning Reflexes and Resolve Increase. So I like Lightning Reflexes, though, is because on any archers, as long as you're holding L1, you're able to just deflect the bullets, the arrows. Even against the Oni archers, when you have like 5 of them shooting at you, and they spam their arrows, they do the barrage. I think it's like 4 or 5 arrows at once. You'll end up blocking all of those. That's 20 arrows that you're blocking within a couple seconds, which is pretty nice. The increase in resolve, the resolve increase is nice too, so that way you'll have the extra charge if you end up building it up that high. But to me, I mean, I don't really think the samurai really needs that increase in resolve, to be honest. Critical defense, I don't really like it, because you have to be low health. You have to basically be under 20% or 25% of your health. You have to be in the critical phase, basically. And if you take a hit from anything in Nightmare while you're in that phase, you're pretty much dead. So for me, I think they should change critical defense into when you're low health, you get like an 80% damage reduction or something. Something like that would be really nice. Or you have 100%, you're immune to all damage for like 10 seconds or something like that when you get to low health, with I think like a 3-minute cooldown or something, or a 5-minute cooldown. Something like that would probably be a lot better for the samurai, in my opinion. But yeah, for now, perk 3, you have Heavenly Strike, Hachiman's Frenzy, and Legendary. Legendary is alright, because it allows you to use 2 legendaries rather than 1. But for me, I personally think Hachiman's Frenzy is actually a lot better, because rather than having 3 strikes, you have 2 strikes. And let's say you have only one enemy, you have one Oni, it's like the Oni boss or something, and you want to kill him, you want to just burst him down because you don't want to take chances. You can just use the Hachiman's Frenzy on him, and you'll end up killing him within like 3 to 5, or it'll be killed within 3 to 5 strikes. If he doesn't, then I mean he'll be low on health, or under at least under half if he's at full health. But yeah, Hachiman's Frenzy is definitely better. And then Heavenly Strike, I think it's just a waste because I mean it's nice because you're able to attack enemies that are blocking, but it's just a waste of resolve because it only takes 3 resolve to activate Hachiman's Frenzy, and you're hitting 5 targets. Whereas Heavenly Strike, it's you're activating, you're using 1 resolve for 1 enemy. You can't use this for multiple enemies. So yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it really matters on Heavenly Strike. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this whole build video. If this helped you guys out, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section, and I will try my best to help you guys out as much as I can. If you have any suggestions or questions as well, again, leave that down in the comment section. And like if you have any suggestions on builds, I mean, then I'm definitely down to try it and test it out. I did a lot of different testings in this, so I mean, I'm not too worried about trying out other new things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is all the one on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.